So today we're going to talk about what the coordinated intake collects as far as information, and then information that's passed on to the receiving legal services organization, and then what the receiving legal organization will do. And this topic came up from some conversation, and we wanted to start to provide some clarity around the roles and what each organization does. And another reason for this is that coordinated intake, it's kind of like football in that with the sport football, you don't actually use your feet other than maybe like an extra point or a field goal here and there. It's actually should be like throw ball. So coordinated intake is kind of like that in that it's misnamed. It's just the way it is. It's actually screening, and then the organization that receives the case actually does like the full intake. So it's more so coordinated screening in that they're going to screen the person to see if they're eligible, and I'll go through a flow chart of that, and then get it to the right place. So the whole goal of the CIR project is for the client to have one place that they can apply online or call, and then they can get routed to the best organization for their situation. So so just we know that like kind of the buzzword, the common name is coordinated intake, but in real life it's coordinated screening. Okay, and I'll go through. Let's see here. You cannot. Can I go ahead and start the screen share here? Let me go ahead and say okay. Let's see. Yeah, it says what it says. Keisha says starting share screen will stop other participants. Oh, there we go. Do you want to continue? Thank you. Okay, can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. Now I'm going to make this bigger to just make it a bit more readable. Now, one thing, this is a good time for a tech tip. Okay, so at the top of your screen, you also have a little like zoom thing. It should be near the top. And so you can actually zoom in and out yourself. So most people don't know that. So just a little tech tip for you. If you want to see something more in, or you want to zoom out of it, you can also do that yourself on your screen. So okay, so let's start with CIR access points. The person can call the coordinated intake system, or they can fill out an online application, or your legal aid organization may get someone who calls you and they're not a fit for your services, so you may route them to the coordinated intake system. And there could be a number of ways you do that. You could, and this is more future thinking, is you could transfer the call. You could fill out something that then transfers the case into the system. There could be a number of ways that when someone contacts a legal aid organization, they're not a fit, that you could get it into coordinated intake. But we'll just wanted to put that out there that we'll have that functionality at some point. Okay, so the CIR navigator is going to conduct the screening, and the whole goal is to, again, have this central place for clients so it's easy for them, and then get them to the right organization. So the collection of this information is very focused on that aspect of the program. So let's say that your organization has something specific that you collect to your organization, then you will collect that. So all of those particulars to your organization that are not common across most organizations, most likely you would collect that. Now, one thing that where the CIR may collect it is if it's a key eligibility factor. So let's say, for example, there's an organization that only serves people that are, let's say, LGBTQIA or something like that. Well, then there may be some questions related to those types of things, or if they were only serving certain ethnicities, then there may be some questions such as that are specific to an organization, but they're key for eligibility. Now, of course, we wouldn't want to ask, since there are a lot of organizations that serve specific niches, we wouldn't want to ask everybody all those niche questions. But if the person has a case or a situation in which one of those more niche organizations would be a potential fit, then we would just ask them at that point. So there will be a lot of conditional questions where it's like, okay, so the system, the way the navigator has it is, based on the information that's entered in, it's going to filter down to the organizations that are possible. And then if that organization has one of those key eligibility factors, then it could be asked at that point. So here we have at the top left, contact information. So of course we want to be able to reach back out to the person. So phone, address, email, etc. And just to be clear, there's a lot more complexity with these questions. We, for the sake of a flow chart, we try to put into one, but we totally recognize that there's a lot more to it. So for example, it could be a phone. Is this, can we text you on this phone? Is it safe for us to contact you on this phone? And so contact information can actually, well, it looks like this small amount, it can actually be a lot of fields because of all those components of a number, if it's safe or not, can you text it, etc. So, but for the sake of a flow chart, we try to keep it high level. Safety concerns, preferred method and time for contact, basic case information. So is it a civil case versus a criminal case? Is it in the DC jurisdiction or somewhere else? And then is it a legal issue that civil legal aid covers? Or let's say if not, would it be a referral, for example, to DC refers? So in any case, there are options. In general, we're trying to screen for those civil legal aid cases. Then we have eligibility information, household size, income, assets, and then these are fields in the CIR database, personal details, circumstances, and that gets to those key eligibility factors around people may only serve specific niches. So that's just so that you could, in a sense, line up those fields with what is in that information. Then additional questions to explore organization-specific restrictions. So we talked about that earlier. And then conflict check information, individual or company name, phone, address, date of birth, so that they can do the conflict check. And I'll check, looks like there's one comment here. Okay, so I'll change the set, okay. All right, next. So if they are eligible for services, they'll go down this path. And then if they're not eligible, then legal information and resources will be provided to that person. So if there are one or more LSOs selected, then they will get minimal information to do a conflict check. And then if there is a conflict, it will go back to the navigator to determine the next best organization to assign it to, and they'll assign it to them to do the conflict check. So another thing that the system provides, it provides that service so that even if the person is not eligible or has a conflict with the first organization, we're still going to make sure that we exhaust all options to get them services. So if there is no conflict, then the organization gets the full case information, and then they conduct their intake. So when we understand that each organization may have their own intake processes, so they can do that there. If they can't accept the case or provide any services, then they'll state that in the CIR system and give a reason so that we can improve the system going forward. And then again, the navigator will assign it to a different organization and go back through this process. And then if they are able to provide some level of service, it goes down this path. Now, one thing that we understand too, and I would say like almost everything, there are like many complexities and branches per se. So perhaps the organization has some type of brief advice or brief service, but it's not, they need more than that. So there is situations, and I'm sure there are others as well, where someone gets services, but they need more. And so perhaps they provide brief advice, then it goes back to the navigator to try to find them full representation. So this is a simplified view of what the navigators will do and what the legal services organizations will do. And I'm hoping that provides a bit of clarity around what the roles are. And I also want to clarify the big picture here that really this is screening to get the people to the right place. And we want to not have to have them duplicate like what they're saying and so forth. So we want to provide all this information to you, and then you just have to ask and do the processes that are specific to your organization. And finally, I'll wrap up with, there will be a lot of stakeholder involvement and input and collaboration around what this essentially coordinated screening includes in the fields. So you can just kind of bookmark that in your mind as, okay, like I'm going to be involved and participate or collaborate or have the right people to collaborate on what we think this coordinated screening could be or would be. And from doing this project in other states, it's can be challenging trying to find like the right set of fields that everyone can agree to. So we understand that up front, and we'll make the best we can that applies to everybody, and then those key eligibility factors. All right, and with that, I'll see if there are any questions.